I think Trump has finally crossed the line. So there's a bunch of lines in the sand that are drawn by different people, all right? And so most people were like, well, if you say this, that's a line. If you say that's a line. And even the hardest core MAGA conservatives out there have a line. All right. I was never MAGA. All right. I always supported Ron DeSantis in the primary, as I say a million times. But the problem with this is that there's still people out there are supporting this president because he has crossed my line now, and this is the line. He has started insulting the Pope, and the Pope is a line you do not cross. All right, he goes out here and calls him weak. He is when the Pope is literally taking the strongest stance one can take in the face of this adversity, because what you see is you got terrorists on one side, right? They want to build a nuclear bomb or whatever they want to do. We don't know if they want to build a nuclear bomb. They've been saying that for the past 40 years. Oh, Iran's going to develop, or Iraq or Iran. Just fill in the blank. They always say it. They're going to develop weapons of mass destruction, and they're not really developing weapons of mass destruction. But we see this happening, and then you also see on the other side President Trump. President Trump has been going a little crazy lately. Let's just say that. He's invading Iran, and from what I can tell, there's no real apparent reason why we are invading Iran, all right? Maybe the first time we bombed Iran, we had a couple reasons, right? They were all tweeting, like, everyone will feel it, and talking all this trash on Twitter, and then we go in and blow up their nuclear facilities with some B-2s, and, it's all fun and dandy. The 4-day war, whatever Trump called it. What this war is there's no real backing behind it. I think it had something I can't even remember because they're not really justifying the war. It's just happened. They're going like, we're going in, we're doing Operation Epic Fury, all right, and we're just left in the dark now. We just like, oh, it's happening. Everybody has just like accepted it. I don't get it. It's like a war effort, and we're sending people who volunteered their lives. Like I get like. This would be a whole different story if it was drafts, by the way. If there are people like involuntarily going into conflict, this would be a whole different story that I should like bring up. But fortunately, all volunteers in this conflict. And the thing about this is that there are no reasons. Like sure they're anti-American, but there's a lot of anti-America out there, and we're not going out and attacking every single one. Where there's supposedly no benefits. The only benefits I can imagine will go straight to Israel. And last time I checked, Israel doesn't really have our best interest in mind in most of our occasions. All right, it's pretty self-centered over there, as far as we're concerned. Like what can Israel do to benefit us? They're actually a detriment to us, if you really think about it, because they're like, first, there's three main security threats that spy on us the most, and that's Russia, China, and the third one's Israel, of all things. This is a major problem, and nobody even talks about it, and yet we call them our greatest ally. Even though, and they behave like our lapdog too, but they are like, it's just so scary how like secretive they are, and they pay our government to AIPAC. It's given all the money. And the thing is that people can't even talk about this. Even I can't talk. I mean, nobody's watching the stream. No one's watching this video. But I mean, maybe some Mossad agent comes up from behind me and just shoots me. Who knows? Anybody could happen. I mean, it's a genuine concern that people have nowadays, because this is how much power we are being influenced by a foreign government. This is not healthy in the slightest bit at all, and I think this would cause literal riots if this happened a century ago in 1920s America when we were all isolationists. The problem is that we are just killing people to kill people. It's a problem, because in the name of nationalism, which is good, nationalism is good, but in the name of nationalism, we are marching on foreign threats, foreign nations that aren't really posing a significant threat to us. Like, what could Iran do? Genuinely, what could Iran do? We went in there and we killed the Ayatollah within hours, genuine hours of beginning the operation. What could they have possibly done on the offense if they did so little on the defense? And the problem with it, and look, the Venezuela thing, by the way, I remember getting the notification. I was like staying up too late. I was going right to bed. I was like, I'm too tired, because it was like freaking 2 a.m. in the morning, and I get a notification like, reports heard of low-flying planes in Venezuela, an explosion, 7 explosions heard. I remember specifically 7. All right, and it was just then all these reports came in, right? And it's all like USA has just attacked Israel, or not, it's Venezuela, and kidnapped President Maduro. What President Trump said when he came out and announced, and then they had the whole photo of Maduro and the Nike thing, which is a really good thing because I think that conflict was actually justified because Maduro had a price on his head for how many years, even under the Biden administration. I think I may be wrong in saying this, so I wouldn't say it, but I'm just gonna say it because I've already said I'm gonna say it. I think it was under the Biden that the actual arrest bounty was put out. So there's been this millions of dollar bounty on his head, and U.S. has just really been sitting on it. So in order to make America respected and look powerful and look like it's going to fulfill its promises, they actually had to go in and do something. And I think they did. They went in, they took down the dictator that is literally importing drugs and being a narco terrorist to America, and that was successful. We were only there for like 2 days. What's the end goal in Iran? We don't have an end goal in Iran. Our goal in Venezuela was to get Maduro, but where's our goal in Iran? All right, this is a problem. And on top of all of this, the Pope comes out. He goes, he says, "Well, God does not listen to the prayers of the war wagers," and this is true. I mean, why would God listen to people who are causing millions of people to die? Now, there are instances where war is justified, like in World War II. I mean, somebody had to stop the Nazis. There's instances where the war is justified, like in Afghanistan. Somebody had to go in and take Osama bin Laden. But there's also unjustified wars, like Vietnam. And Vietnam, LBJ heavily exaggerated the Gulf of Tonkin incident. In Iraq, they lied to us about weapons of mass destruction. Or us, I wasn't even alive, all right? The American people about weapons of mass destruction. And it's all these things. And unjustified wars are truly the eternal scar on a leader's resume. Like President Bush, he probably genuinely believed that there were weapons of mass destruction being developed in Iraq and that they had a connection to Al Qaeda or whatever. But there were probably, and this is my belief, there were people inside of the War Department that lied to him about what they saw. And so President Bush was genuinely in his heart believing that there was weapons of mass destruction. And the American people, and this is the story he told the American people in 2004, he didn't actually tell them that they lied. He said they were mistaken. I think they lied. I just didn't know. I think President Bush knew that they were lying, but he told everybody that they were mistaken because it would look really bad if somebody was lying in the United States government, especially if the president. And the president was tricked, and that would have probably lost him the election in 2004 to John Kerry. But he did not lose that. He actually won the popular vote, unlike 2000. And so, yeah, that was a terrible scar that still plagues, President Bush, with like the famous shoe incident you see everywhere. You can't say Bush without people, calling him a genocidal maniac, which he's not. He was misled. He was a genuine good man, like his father. There's another one. The Gulf War, 1990s. That's a justified war. I mean, Iraq was invading Kuwait, and so that was a justified war to get a UN coalition and be one of the Operation Desert Storm, be one of the most effective ways to take out the enemy and do a successful mission. It was perfect, and there was an end goal there. What is the end goal in Iran? And that is too much of a concern that many people have. I mean, and we don't even have an end goal. We want to take out their oil reserves, but we're not. We're going to give it to our private companies, or we're going to give it to an allied government. We're just going to set up a puppet government if that's all we're going to do. If we're going to set up a new government there, right? They're going to do what we did in Iraq because it works every time. It did work. Iraq is still heavily allied with the United States. But still, it doesn't happen well in a lot of instances. I mean, remember what happened to the Shah of Iran, okay? Or I think that's the word. Maybe I'm wrong, all right? I'm going off the top of my dome right now. But then that was a U.S.-funded guy, and the Iranian Revolution took him down. I mean, my grandparents lived in Iran right before the Iranian Revolution. And there's all these like Iranian heirlooms in our house, or that were in my house, and they're not with me right now because I moved houses. But I see them all the time. My grandparents. This is super cool. But such a unique culture in Iran, and yet it's being destroyed by their government, their current government. But that's not the place of the United States to go in and just destroy Iran. What they're doing. There's thousands and thousands, tens of thousands of civilian casualties as a result of this war, and we're just going in willy-nilly without a plan. I mean, we're not even going to reinstate our own Shah, the son of the Shah, who's living in Texas right now, I think. And so there's no end goal. I have not heard one end goal from Trump. And by the way, Trump is doing a lot of crazy things. I just don't think he's all right in the head, okay? And this is coming. You can watch my previous videos, okay? We were sold on a lie, I think. A lot of the things he campaigned for, he has not done. And a lot of things he said he would not do, he has done. He campaigned on being the peace president. What are we doing, Iran? It's lost me, all right? Now, have you seen the video 4 weeks ago? They were talking about some congressman. I forgot his name. He was from the 2nd Congressional District of Neil something. Something, it had Neil in it, I think. Or Don, it had a D or whatever. 2nd Congressional District of Florida. The gentleman had a heart problem, and he was about to, it was a terminal, and he was supposedly going to die in June. And so President Trump helped him, and this information was not made public. And so Mike Johnson was, speaking. I was like, oh, we had a gentleman who had a very poor condition. He was terminal. And then President Trump goes with this, it says he'd be dead by June. And, Mike Johnson goes like, well, that's not public information. That's exactly what happened. And it's kind of scary. And, and if the whole, what else? He's done quite a few things. The Jesus photo. This is what I think really crossed the line. Like, I was really upset about the Pope thing. No. Him posting a photo of himself as Jesus, and it genuinely baffles me. Like, it's straight blasphemy. This is. Can you imagine this happening like 20 years ago? If somebody like a president like 50 years ago posting like a painting themselves as Jesus, this would like have people on the streets demand for the president's head on a pike. It would be dead. It would be terrifying. And what's happening today? Nothing. There's people defending him. And you know what the story Trump puts out is, when he came up there, he says, oh, I thought it was me as a doctor. I thought it was me as a Red Cross person because I help healing somebody, because I heal a lot of people. I don't know what's scarier, the fact that that story's true and he's genuinely like not okay in the head, or if it's not true and he's just like straight blasphemer. I mean, he's obviously just not all right in the head because, okay, I saw a quote today that he said, it's Dr. Oz. This is new, breaking news. Dr. Oz said that Trump said that he drinks diet soda because when he pours it on the grass, it kills the grass. And so when he drinks the diet soda, it must kill the cancer cells within him. I can't, because he also said that Fanta is freshly pushed, like squeezed, freshly squeezed, I think is the word he used. Our president, I don't think is all right. That's the words I'm gonna use. All right. I'm sorry. It's late at night. I'm losing my words because of the passion that's within me. I also saw today Zoran Mamdani. All right. I don't like the dude. He's a communist. In my opinion, he's a communist. All right. Not good at all. He's unhealthy for America. He's unhealthy for the country. I think he's unhealthy for the Democratic Party. I think he's unhealthy for the Republican Party because it's going to scare the Republicans into become more extreme, more delusional, more pro-Israeli when the Democrats are shifting to pro-Muslim, pro-Palestine. And we're looking for the party that's pro-America. And unfortunately, people who have filled those shoes are the Groypers. And the Groypers are despicable people. I mean, they're like basement dwellers, and they never go outside. And Nick Fuentes lives in his mother's basement. I mean, Nick Fuentes is a funny dude. He's really funny. But, like, the dude just he can't take anything seriously. And unfortunately, there's so many serious topics out there that things need to be taken seriously at a point to, actually be considered something. And it's just really scary because these people are wearing swastikas. They're going around, promoting Hitler, and it's just anti-American ideals, and it's just the whole world's falling apart. And Tucker Carlson, I thought it was really strange because we watched, Ted Cruz when the Ted Cruz Tucker Carlson interview came out. Uh, Ted Cruz was like, whoa, we're best buddies. We do this in the light heart, and that interview was really heated, right? But it still had good intention and good heart, and I that's what I heard. I remember watching that whole thing, and then what happens is that they have this big fallout, and it gets really escalated after the death of Charlie Kirk, because um, the death of Charlie Kirk shifts the focus to Nick Fuentes, because Nick Fuentes is now this big alt-right influencer compared to the mainstream Turning Point USA Charlie Kirk. And so Nick Fuentes is now, becoming this big voice, and so Tucker Carlson goes and interviews him, and now the whole Republican sphere turns against Tucker Carlson, who they used to, promote as this free speech advocate. Now it looks like Republicans are the very thing they swore to destroy in 2020 when the cancel culture left was going around, canceling people and for saying the wrong things. Now the right is going around canceling people. Even, I think canceling is the right word. They're calling people anti-Semitic for saying the wrong things. They're saying these things. I'm going to be called anti-Semitic. I don't even care. This is what's going to happen to me. I mean, genuine fear resides in all of us because both sides are out to get you now. The right used to be a safe haven. Now at one point, the left used to be a safe haven at one point, and now both at the same time are no longer safe haven, and the only place you can reside in for free speech is the Groyper movement. And the Groyper movement is literally the worst place you could reside out of them all, because they are fascist, monarchical, and just all around anti-American idealists. So that's always very dangerous. Wait, I was supposed to talk about Zoran Mamdani. Oh my goodness. Back on Zoran Mamdani. All right, he's a communist. I don't like it, but I saw something today. He has his new policy. He's promised taxing the rich and all that. I was tracking the election big when it was happening against Andrew Cuomo, and then when the primary was going, and then Andrew Cuomo ran as an independent, which was terrible. I think that's the worst decision he could have made because that just screwed over New York, and it probably screwed over the entire Democratic Party. Now you won't have respectful competition for the Republicans, and the Republicans probably are going to have zero backbone Vance out there, who's I don't know. Vance just seems to be switching up all the time. It's really bad. At first, I get that, not liking Trump at first. Nobody liked Trump at first. Now nobody likes Trump now. But he's still sticking, and he's going against the Pope. He's sticking by Trump on his statements against the Pope. And J.D. Vance is a Catholic. He's not a lifelong Catholic. He was converted in 2019, but he is going against the Pope as a Catholic, and that is not very helpful. I saw the videos that he was really going against the Pope, but he was saying like, "Oh, World War II," and what about genocide? That one dude shouted, you've probably seen the video, but it's just really scary because I don't know if J.D. Vance is the right kind of guy because all his money comes from Peter Thiel, but nobody's perfect in the political sphere. You can't be in that position without doing something dirty. So you can't have all the marbles in the world. It's a dire situation for our nation. Oh my gosh, we're going back to the Zoran Mamdani thing. All right, Zoran Mamdani, what he did was he announced his policy on taxing the rich. He announced this because he made the promise when he was running the campaign. He said affordability and how we're going to pay for all these things, like his universal child care and the other things, is that he's going to tax the rich. He wants to impose higher taxes, even though rich are heavily taxed in New York. They probably pay for most of the facilities in New York already. So you're just like completely tax them more and more, and it's going to drain them out, and they're just going to leave, and you won't have anything to tax. The thing with this is that I actually like his new tax. I really like it. I think every city should implement it because it's actually pro New York. It's not like an anti-rich thing. It's an excuse me, it's an anti-foreign investor thing. That's really, if you're looking at it as the mayor of New York lens, I think even a Republican mayor would do this because he's putting a tax on people owning luxury apartments outside of New York. Now, there is a caveat to this. Who is buying luxury apartments in New York? Probably people outside of New York, all right? Because people are like, oh, I want to own a condo in New York, so I'm going to buy a luxury apartment. And so, all the people who own luxury apartments in New York City are going to be these rich billionaires that are outside of New York City. So apparently it's just like a whole thing on luxury apartments. Good friend Jacob pointed out, good guy Jacob pointed out that maybe this will drive incentive away from real estate companies from building more real estate buildings. That's a possibility, although I don't know how large the tax is. It really depends. But I think if the United States were to have taxes, which it does, I think these are the kind of taxes it needs. Not any taxes on the bottom 50%. I think the bottom 50% shouldn't be taxed at all. You should look at the graphs and how little they provide in comparison to like the top 1%. They provide pennies on the dollar what they do. So why tax them at all? You're literally just hurting them to hurt them when you're getting more money from the richer classes anyways. I'm not an advocate for, taxing the rich because they do get taxed. That's my whole argument. I just think we don't should. All I think is that we shouldn't be taxing the poor. All right. I think America can operate on a lot less money, and we don't need to raise taxes in order to cut taxes. That's simple. No new taxes. And they always lie. They always say no new taxes. George H.W. Bush, whatever. It wasn't his fault. He was like kind of forced to. But it's whatever. Yeah. I don't know. I don't think I ever explained how I got into this house. So if you watch my previous videos from like 2 years ago, I was actually in a different room. That's because when I moved to Florida, I lived in a rental, and this house was actually being constructed. We were supposed to be in this house way earlier, but the construction delays and all that, the whole policies and undertakings of building on a beach, and so I built. So they built the house. I moved in around like March of last year, and then I made a podcast with my friend Tristan, and I filmed in this room. It was unfurnished, so now I furnished it out. I don't know. It's called Diabolical Podcast, and you could probably look it up. Probably still up. It depends when you watch this. It might get taken down. Who knows? So I furnished out the room in case you've seen that and you don't know what all this stuff is. I got the libertarian flag on this side, right? And then I also got the F-35 paint or photo right here. Pretty cool with the missile technology that my father helped develop. We got the Coca-Cola right there, and it's Evie, So it's a pretty neat thing. Oh, and ignore the canteen back there. There's a long story behind that canteen. Anyway, but yeah, I intend to make more videos like this because it's just fun to rant into the camera and go into a little echo chamber. So see y'all later.